Hi friends, my name is Akash Purohit. I secured 216th rank in 2016 attempt of UPSC. My optional was political science and I was part of VVR for their essay program. Now I would like to thank Ashutosh Jha for guiding me with regards to essay and also with regards to GS answer writing. Apart from that, VVR has been helpful in giving me some model essays which had guided me in the journey of my examination. Now, speaking of the examination, out of what I can brief you is the first stage, that is preliminary examination. It is test of your basic awareness and your observation. One has to gather all sort of information through their static books as well as from the events that are happening around the world and the country. And while writing the exam, since it is MCQ based examination, there are two kinds of questions in GS. One are static question. Some questions are static questions, which are which you can mark correct through your basic knowledge. So out of four options, you can mark one exactly, that you know. Apart from that, there are few questions which are based on the analysis. Now marking them correct will be based upon your knowledge of how much risk to be taken. Secondly, how much how many options you are confused in. Suppose, let's say, if you are confused in three options, then it is better to leave the question, while if you are confused in two options, you may go for risk, which might prove to be helpful. Apart from that, prelims, the newspaper factor, how it helps in prelims is, suppose say whenever you come across any question, you try to recollect all possible knowledge you have regarding the subject or the questions that is asked. That might help you eliminate one or two options. So logically you are reached to confusion between two options. Now you may take risk, or if you think that I'm too confused in those two options, then you better leave that. Now, how to go about preparation for prelims? There is one basic strategy. There are, out of many strategies which I have followed and I have been successful, that is, try to solve as many test papers possible after gathering a basic sort of knowledge. And of all the test paper, be careful. Wherever you go wrong, note them down in a diary, which I have done. I have made 2 3 diaries regarding the same, and revise those questions, revise that points bulletins before your examination. So this, what happens is, majority of the questions are from the tests you have solved. Suppose say you have solved 50 question papers or 40 question papers, which means that you have solved 4,000 to 5,000 questions. So out of 4,000 to 5,000 questions, those questions related to current affair, you will definitely get a few questions, which I am sure of. So this helps you in, getting more number of questions correct. Apart from that, next is mains. Mains is a game of strategy, I would say, because knowledge, I would say, if I am to count the ratio, it would be, knowledge would be around 40% to 45%. Right, rest 50 to 55% would be your strategies. So, how to go about mains? First, before starting the preparation for mains, you need to go through all sort of questions that are asked in last, say, let's say 5 years, 6 years. Then go through the questions of various materials in the market, because what happens is, maybe UPSC changed their trend and you come across altogether new kind of paper. So you go through question papers, you get the idea what to be read and how to be read. After that, study, go through the materials, go through your notes, go through your coaching institute, whichever coaching you were part of, or whatever your strategy is. After that, start with the answer writing. Now in GS, I would say a knowledge component is very helpful. And now the thing is that people might say this might not be helpful for your mains examination, or this is too out of syllabus part. But it highly depends on your strategy or techniques, how to use that knowledge, which you think are not part of the mains, but you are smart enough to put them somewhere in the gaps. So this way you fill your gaps or deficits, knowledge deficit. Second thing is, about mains, is the strategy, the way you write paper, because you don't personally meet the examiner. So examiner is judging you from your answer sheet. Now, unlike prelims, mains helps the examiner judge your character, your observation, your knowledge, your attitude. Now, we might be confused. How can a person know about all these things? Now, for that question to be answered, I would need an examiner. But the fact is that your strategies will count here, and strategies will make a huge difference. Because what I have seen, many of my good friends who have more knowledge than me have scored a little lower rank, and the factor is the strategies. So working on strategy is one important part of GS mains. Apart from that, one of the important savior, or I would say the holy trinity of GS mains, are essay, ethics, and optional. These three papers are trinity because they are highly subjective, and secondly, you can go to the extreme ends of the spectrum. You might score very high in all these three subjects, or you might score average, or you might go below that. So these three would prove to be the, what we say, sharpest weapon in your hand. Now with regards to essay, you need to read as many essays as possible of good students, of model essays. This will help you, firstly with regard to knowledge deficit, secondly with regard to the pattern, because essay needs to have few characteristics. Unlike what you used to write in 12th standard or 10th standard, few factors that are important here are: one is your flow of essay should be good, knowledge should be good, and knowledge should be stacked in the right place. Nothing insensitive should be written. Your personal opinions do matter. Apart from your personal opinion, knowledge of wide spectrum. Your essay needs to be holistic. If suppose essay is asked on nuclear capability, you also need to write the peaceful aspect of it, and you also need to write about military aspect of nuclear technology, as well as the reactor aspect, what we say peaceful. So you need to have a good memory for the data required. Apart from that, you will be coming across various current events or current agreements, MOUs, etc., with regards to nuclear things, which you can mention in your essay. This makes your essay more current oriented. And mind you that essay, the one who is checking, I expect him to be a generalist person. So a generalist person will never engage himself in those essays which are highly technical. So you need to explain essay in the basic format. Secondly, one of the important strategies that I have noted for essay is that your essay should be something that even a person of 8th standard borrows something out of it, as well as a person who is doing PhD borrows out of it. Which means that your essay should have knowledge, as well as those knowledge specifically which are very basic, as well as which are very, I would say, a little bit technical, not too technical. Apart from essay, let's move on to optional subject. Optional subject is one of the was had proved to be the most important boon for me. I scored 318 in my optional paper, which is political science. So optional is important for two reasons. That one is it will help you in your interview, because in many for many candidates the interview revolves around their optional subject. Apart from that, it will help you in GS, because generally most of the optional do have certain overlap with general studies. And optional is highly based upon your answer writing in the sense the way you write, because in case of optional, you must sound a little bit technical, and your essay should sound a little academic. However, too much of academic won't matter. You need to have certain understanding of how your optional subject you will be implementing while you are in service. So suppose, say, if political science is my optional, and there is a question on any theory or any idea, I also need to show them that whether this idea is relevant today or not. This will make a huge impact. Rest, this much is I think sufficient in optional. Let's move on to the another important part, that is interview. I mean, before moving on to interview, let me tell about general studies. because I have borrowed this strategies of general studies from many people, and one among them was Ashutosh Enja, who is faculty of VVR. Okay, let me tell about the general studies. Your answer, because generally what I have noticed is questions that are asked are something that you cannot explain even in 1,000 words. So the trick is to explain them in 200 words. Now, how do you do that? Firstly, you have to cover major aspect. You need to explain only those aspects which are exactly asked in in the question. Suppose say if there are three parts of question, you need to address each and specific part of the question, because generally marks are divided. Suppose say if you stress too much on one aspect of the question, you will be getting marks, one third marks out of total one third marks, because there are three part of the question. Now you need to cover whole of the question. And secondly, in general studies, you need to be forward looking or optimistic or futuristic, I would say. You give a roadmap. Suppose a question is asked about food processing industry, you need to explain what are the problems of food industries, how it has developed in India, what are government strategy. Also you need to give the roadmap. In roadmap, you need to explain what will be the benefit of what you will be doing. Say food processing industry will be having a multiplier effect with regards to Indian agriculture, because Indian agriculture is one of the worst performing sector of the economy, considering manufacturing, service and agriculture. So it might help bridge the overcome the glass ceiling effect of the agriculture, which is kept at 4% or 4.5%. So this way you have to give a roadmap. If the question is suppose say for farm insurance, you need to tell them the median farm income can be risen, what strategies can be taken up, like what are the mistakes of the administration which can be should be overcome to bridge the issue that is prevalent in the country. And in general studies, the, the subjects are very wide. Say suppose it starts with the history, which is highly static, and art and culture, which is I would say too static, I would say. So it starts from there, it moves on to modern history, it moves on to social, which is very dynamic. Next it moves on to geography, which is very dynamic as well as technical. Moving on to polity, it again starts with one of the most static thing, that is constitution. Our constitution is no doubt dynamic as well as both rigid and flexible, but I would say it starts from the static part, and it moves on to international relation, which is one of the most dynamic part of our national public affair. So there is sudden shift in the subjects. So you need to develop a thinking, you need to develop a flexibility in your thinking, because all those 20 questions you have to align with the time as well as with the subjects. So you are solving question of society, all of a sudden next question you see it is very technical geography question. So you need to change the your lag time should be least. You must think very fast. You can develop those skills in your test series, in your discussions with friends, etc. So GS, the strategy is that you must have flexibility. Secondly, you must have a foolproof pattern of writing an answer before you go to the examination hall. Because what happens is you cannot think for a pattern at the moment. You need to go beforehand with a very good foolproof a systematic answer, and that pattern will be followed in most of the questions. Now there are few strategies like 20 questions. Not all questions can be of same can be put in the same category in terms of your explainable your capability to explain them or your capability to analyze them. So what happens is you do few questions very good, few question in moderately, and few question you try to just address. That's it, nothing much. So you need to develop a strategy. Like initial questions have to be very good, because they will set an impression for your question paper. And the forthcoming questions should have a balance of time management as well as knowledge. So you might need to compromise with one of them. So it goes on and it goes on. Next comes your interview thing. Interview is better of your communication, how you make your points reach to the your opponent. Secondly, an attitude factor, which is a big component of judgment in your interview. Now what happens is, one has a very good knowledge, but and he is capable to answer all the questions, and he has in fact answered all the questions very well, still one gets very low marks in interview. So that is matter of his communication skill. You need to improve and work out on that. Apart from that, interview is dependent on skills that are inculcated throughout your life, so it cannot change all of a sudden. But yes, certain flexibilities and certain caveats can be followed during the preparation for interview. Secondly, you must have original content in interview. Let's say, everyone knows what is AFSPA, what are the powers given to the military in AFSPA region, what is the work of civilian in AFSPA, civilian or civil officers in AFSPA region. But what is needed in interview is your original thought, whether AFSPA should be extended or not. Has AFSPA been good or not? Here you need your original. And secondly, even if it is not original and you have prepared yourself very well, you need a conviction power, because even if you fake there, it will be judged on your conviction power. If you can be very confident with your answers that you have marked up, well, you can get very good marks. And interview, I guess, a lot of things depend on the board, because there is, certain perceptions about boards, like this board is good, this board is not good, this board, you can fetch very good marks, while in this board you cannot. But I would go with one simple saying that, not saying, rather I would go with one simple logic, that these are the excuses that you give after you get very low marks in interview, or you get very good marks in interview. These are the excuses. You need to be prepared regarding all the things. Before you go to interview, check who all are the members of UPSC and what is their background. Secondly, while you are giving an interview, you must never have a perception about the interviewer, whosoever it may be. You need to perform like you have practiced throughout your life. So you need to be very true, original, confident. That's it. That is the key thing of interview. Secondly, during your interview, you need to converse with new people. You need to learn techniques of conversation, skills of conversation. Because what happens is, I might ask you certain question. Suppose say you have never given it a thought, you might be hesitating at the moment. This can be clearly seen in your face. So you try to avoid such things by practicing interacting with strangers. So what happens is, even if I ask you very minute question which you don't know, don't hesitate. Simply say, sir, I don't know. Or, sorry, sir, I'm unable to recall. Try, bringing out all the synonyms of such things. So this is one factor. So, I mean, summarizing everything, I mean, I will take a few minutes on newspaper reading. See, newspaper reading is one important part, not only for UPSC aspirant, but also for normal people, for those who are not appearing for UPSC, because it keeps you informed. You can keep tab on various events happening around the world, around the country. So, so I would go with three-stage solution of newspaper. One is, you need motivation to go and pick up your newspaper once it is delivered. You need to have that motivation throughout. You must be excited to read newspaper. You must, every day before, just immediately after getting up, you should have this excitement, what all things happened yesterday. So this excitement will help you read newspaper very efficiently. Apart from that, see, newspaper reading would be worthless with respect to UPSC aspirant if he is unable to keep tab of all the events that he has read in newspaper. Which means that you have read everything about an event in newspaper, but you are unable to recall them in the examination. It is one of the very big fallacy on part of UPSC aspirants. So what one has to do is, second stage, one has to make notes, or one has to mark something or cut newspaper article, whichever is comfortable to you. But one has to do this thing, because when your exam is near, You need to recall all the things that you have read in newspaper. Else, your newspaper reading time would prove worthless. So second is this. Third is generation. Generation of the events in answer sheet. While you write an answer, take a pause of few seconds and think what all things regarding the topic I have read in newspaper. Try to incorporate that. Suppose say the question is on vigilantism. You need to know what all important events that took place regarding vigilantism in the country that I have read in newspaper. It may be regarding Gaur Rakshak, it may be regarding beef thing, it may be regarding the caste issue, it may be regarding anything. So you need to keep tap of that thing. Secondly, in newspaper, I would say there are few very hidden truths in newspaper. Suppose say you are preparing for paper one, social issues. Now social issue is very well explained in the city column of the newspaper, city part, which we generally ignore, considering that in unimportant. So what you have to do is, you know, at least for 15 days, read the city page, because you will get various social issues, current social issues, social problems in the city column. Read only for 15 days, because generally most of the problems are repetitive. So after 15 days you will realize the same things happening again. But for 15 days you will, take the feel of what are the events which are of social nature, which I have never given thought. So this is one thing. Apart from that, newspaper as a whole, there are, various aspects of newspaper. Not many of the people use conventional strategy of getting newspaper in hard copy and reading them. Few people go for reading newspaper on electronic format, which is a good factor. They clip the important things in their whichever app there are very good and innovative apps these days. So one is this. Second is, people read different newspapers specifically for certain things. Suppose say Hindu is very good for social issues, Hindu is very good for national news. However, some people regard Indian Express very good for their opinion column. So it depends on the strategy, but I personally would say, I used to occasionally I used to log on to, I have not been an avid reader of newspaper throughout my journey. But what has helped me in regarding the current issues is that one is the monthly issues of that are available in the market. This helps me keep tab on the events that I missed in newspaper. Secondly, I have habit of reading occasionally, going through some website of think tanks and downloading their articles and reading them and making their notes. And if mood permits me, then I also log on to the editorial column of few newspapers. Suppose say you realize all of a sudden you are getting bored, you go to the sites of, suppose say, Statesman newspaper or Asian Age, just read any article. You might get a different perspective. If not, nothing, it does not matter, because you have not wasted your time. At least you will gain something out of it. And next thing is, there are few very good magazines which gives in-depth study about any particular thing. So suppose say my weakness is understanding the environmental issues, because I've stayed in cities, I've never given much thought to environmental issues throughout my life, because I have not faced any such events in my near life. So what happens is, my sensitivity that is required in case of environmental issue is little bit less with respect to other people. So in order to improve that, I used to go to the Down to Earth magazine, read one article, in-depth article regarding or any cover issue, and you will get, a good perspective how to analyze environmental issues. So this has helped me inculcate those characters parameters, how to judge an event in me. So this can prove to be very helpful. And supposedly if you are getting bored, you can do one more thing, that is, you can watch certain RST, certain channels which are available on YouTube. One among them is Big Picture of Rajya Sabha Television, or India's World of Rajya Sabha Television. Apart from that, interview. So see, getting bored is one of human nature. So in order to overcome that, you must get yourself involved in something very productive and which is not wasteful. So one example is I developed a hobby of watching travel documentaries, because that helped me, encounter the areas that I had never thought of. Suppose, say, I have watched documentary of Mongolia, I watched documentary of Argentina, I have watched documentary of Bulgaria, Romania, etc. So this had helped me, knowing geographical features of this area, tourist aspect of this area, the social aspect of this area. So this became my hobby. At the end, I used to watch it regularly, like one hour every day, and it refreshes you, and also it gives you a little bit of knowledge. And in case you come across a catchy words, catchy phrase, you can actually use them in your general studies essay, whatever possible. So this whole is the summary of my journey of UPSC. So at the end, I would conclude with few basic requirements of UPSC. One is observation. Everything that you do, whether you read, whether you write, whether you speak, or what you listen from people, you know try to observe things, the way persons speak, the ideas that come out of people. Try, in case you get very catchy things, try to keep tap of that. You might get space available to use that in examination. Apart from that, one has to be very playful with the studies. Playful in the sense that if one reads about prime minister, president, see, these all matters, they don't affect us immediately. What president says in, suppose, say, another country, we don't feel the repercussion of that thing immediately. So what happens is we are generally ignorant of those things. But what happens is, if you are very playful, you think, let's say, I mean, for that matter, I mean, don't take me too seriously, but consider president as your friend, and imagine what your friend has told to people of Gambia, what your friend has told to people of Uzbekistan. You will love listening to president's speech. So, I mean, this thing, making your studies as much playful as possible, will help you in overall understanding of things, and this will make your studies more interactive. You don't need discussion with people. You can discuss with yourself, that if he has done this thing, I mean, try try out making matrix in your mind. Try out all the possibilities, what can be the repercussion of these possibilities, what should be the outcome of this thing. So this everything, this complete package makes you an analyst. So this help you in each and every aspect of your life. I would say preparation of UPSC was not only helpful in clearing this examination, this has given me lessons for my life, and I think it might help you. Thanks a lot.